Well, it's politics time again. Are you gonna vote?
Good evening. Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. I want to thank my mom for giving birth to me in the beautiful Virgin Islands. She had 50 states in Puerto Rico to choose from. She chose the Virgin Islands, and I thank her each chance that I get. Let me go on a quick break because my guest is already going to be calling in at 7:03. We'll be right back.
Make your way to Emancipation Garden Thursday, July 20th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a free Mukajumbi experience. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the Virgin Islands presents Stilts Up, Guns Down, an all-age free event. Come out and enjoy performances by Mukajumbi Summer Camp and the St. John Dynamic Dancers Thursday, July 20th, free at Emancipation Garden, where you can support young entrepreneur vendor booths and listen to inspirational music selected by DJ Jackson. For more information, contact Bruce Lamone at 340-513-4041.
Attention all private homeowners and contractors. East Caribbean Metals, located on the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have affordable pricing on all roofing material, PVC pipes, steel, and much more. Call East Caribbean Metals, 1-784-456-1843. Remember, your U.S. dollar goes further when you purchase your building supplies from East Caribbean Metals. Visit www.ecmil.net for more product information.
Learn to swim classes at the St. Thomas Swimming Association. Drowning is quick, but drowning can be prevented. Drowning is the single leading cause of death for children under the age of 4. Summer is upon us, and it's all about pool and play. Learn to swim at the St. Thomas Women Association. We offer American Red Cross classes for age 6 months through adults. We have sessions beginning June 13, 2022. For more information, please call 340-244-1359. That's 340-244-1359.
The Police Benevolent Association, VISNA, the St. Thomas Stroke Support Group, and Love City Riders, in conjunction with Wizard Production and Consulting Firm, Caribbean Cutie, the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, SRMC, and the Democratic Vision Club, are hosting a community Rise Up Against Gun Violence walk in honor of Detective Delbert Phipps Jr. on Saturday, July 22nd, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., beginning with a walk from Lucinda Millen Home to the Emancipation Garden, featuring intercessory prayers by local pastors, candlelight vigils, live singing performances, and complimentary drinks and hors d'oeuvres for everyone in attendance. The general public is invited. For additional information, please call Mrs. Esther Merla Phillips at 340-513-1537 or Mr. Edgar Baker Phillips at 340-473-6910. That's Saturday, July 22nd, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's a community Rise Up Against Gun Violence walk in honor of Detective Delbert Phipps Jr.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte. My guest this evening is... Hello,
Hollywood Hypnotist Kevin Stone.
Hey, Kevin. Mr. Stone, how I do my program, the first few minutes we're going to talk about Kevin Stone and where you were born and raised, and then after we get a little information and a little bit about how your career went, then we'll jump into your project that either you or your rep nicely wrote that caught my eye to want to interview you. So, who is Kevin Stone? Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in the state of Rhode Island.
Okay. And did you live there all your life? Did you go to the various schools in Rhode Island?
I did. I went all the way up to Rhode Island College, and to finally decide to come into the West Coast to live in the state of California.
While growing up in Rhode Island, and did you traverse a lot to New York, New York?
I did, and mainly Boston, because that was closer. In New York wasn't that further away. So yeah, these are places that would visit a lot as a young man.
I've been to New York. I haven't been to Boston. How is Boston, and what do you feel is the difference between the New York area in the Boston area. I deal with a lot of them with the type of clients I have, whether in the hotel or off the cruise ships. But you can always tell the accent between a New Yorker and a Boston.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then a Rhode Islander. You also have a very strong accent in Rhode Island as well. It's a mixture of New York and Boston. But Boston is very different than New York because it's still part of New England. And it's just a lot of tradition. There's a lot of history that comes from Boston. And it's just a very beautiful area to visit and to be in, as well as New York.
Yeah, I said this on the air before, so I'm sure some of my listeners are saying, when I went to New York, I was totally confused because I went to Penn Station. So if you're not used to the area and to me, it's not tourist friendly. I used to live in DC. So to me, that's more friendly. It's easy lines, yellow line, blue line, orange line. That's easy. But when you go to Penn Station, New York, and you look up at the board and it goes track 18, I'm like, well, where the heck is track 18? How am I supposed to know where I'm going?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll find your differences culturally, regionally. It's pretty amazing. I've traveled just about. I think there's only 2 states I haven't visited in my travels of doing the work that I do, and you'll find differences, big differences, just between states, maybe even cities sometimes. Like even upstate New York is way different than the city of New York, New York.
Yeah, and when I have guests, sometimes they state that as well. They don't like to be associated with New York, New York. They're like, no, we're upstate. We're not with that confusion of all the honking of horns and get out of my way type of mentality.
That's right. That's right.
As an individual growing up, and as you stated, you've been in a Rhode Island area for more, not I wouldn't say all your life, but your younger life. And how was high school for you and the transitions of the different, like, elementary school to the high school, and then from high school? I'll ask my next question after you answer that question.
Yeah, the transitions, I think, are still the same for everyone who goes through that kind of a system. They were, for me, not too bad, but, I was this shy, introverted guy who, I was involved with many of the high school clubs. I was a high school yearbook photographer. I was in the drama club, a lot of different groups. I was in the band. It's what you do and what choices you make at that particular time. And, of course, the transition over into college, you start to realize, who you really are and what you're really becoming. But I'll tell you what really helped me throughout the entire transitions of everything was actually the applications of what I do now, of helping people to help people help themselves. And that's hypnosis. And when I discovered that at a very young age, and that was around, I'd say, 16 years old, I really didn't understand it. I thought I was skeptic, just like everybody else. I was cynical. I grew up in a very conservative area in Rhode Island, and it just was not acceptable. Pretty much what it is today. I mean, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and the stigma is still attached of what people see on TV and the movies and all of this nonsense, and they still believe that that's what really happens. It's kind of unfortunate, but it comes with the territory. It's like if I bring up the word used car salesman or lawyer, everyone has a stigma that's attached that's not really true about what that is. That's just what the media and movies and television have sensationalized to be what it is, and it's an imprint on it worldwide. I've been all over the world, and it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what language, what country, it's all the same.
Yeah, I could see you being in Europe and they say, "Oh, what's your career?" And you're like, hypnosis. Like, oh, what do you do?
Exactly. Yeah, people get that stunned deer look in their headlight. When a deer is in headlights.
Yeah, next thing you know, like, wait,
eyes, like, what?
Is he going to try and do it? Is he going to try to put me under now? What the heck is going on?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, immediately, don't look at my eyes. Don't look at my eyes. You're going to hypnotize me. And it's all of those stigmas, all of those misnomers, all of those things that, again, TV, movies, it's history of what those things are. You're reading it in books. It's not true. It's not true whatsoever.
Well, good. That's why we have you here in the next portion when we start talking shortly about it. But I'll jump a little ahead now and state. So after high school, and you decided to go to Rhode Island University, you stated?
Rhode Island College.
College.
I believe it's not even named that anymore.
And
Yeah, I went to Rhode Island College, and I was working on my BA of communications. And ironically, it's exactly what it is that you're doing today. That's what I set out to do, to graduate from radio to becoming a sports anchor on local news. And so that's what brought me to California, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Radio brought me to California, my career in radio, because that was the stepping stone. And so that's the transition of what happened with that.
Oh, nice. So when you were did you know in high school that that's what you wanted to do for communication when you were going to college? Because I'll tell you, I didn't expect this. I didn't go to school for this. I went to school in Cincinnati, Ohio, Xavier, for entrepreneur studies, still own my own business, which I still have my own business, but I mean, I didn't go to school to be a radio guy.
Yeah. Well, me and like a lot of your listeners are in the same boat. Look at my major was communications, and here I am, a board certified, well-renowned, globally board certified hypnotherapist. And so, am I doing something with the degree that I established? Sure, but it's not. I'm not in radio now. I'm not in television, and it's the same for you. Look at you. You started out, thinking something else, and then God basically directed you to where He wants you to be. Same with me and everyone else who's not really doing what their degrees dictated.
Correct. Yeah. Well, how I started is that I was on the board of elections, and after one of my wins, the third win or something like that, my numbers wasn't as where I wanted it. So I said, you know what? Let me get a radio show. And then I started a radio show on another radio station, and then moved to a different station. So I finally landed at this perfect station in 90.9 FM, also on www.cbnvirginislands.com. And the owner is amazing. We sat and talked about it before, but how I started was really with a 1-hour show on Saturdays, which I still have, is called Just Us. And the concept of it, while this one has the same kind of concept, but the concept of Just Us was business owners, nonprofit, and interesting people. So you hit at least 2 of the 3. So, and I listened to this guy locally here. He's from Virginia. Incredible interviewer, incredible, and he used to interview different, whether it was government officials or private officials or whoever. But then he would open up his program for phone calls the last 15 minutes. It was an hour show. And I promised myself if I ever got a show, I was never going to do that because somebody, and I know people always say there's no dumb question. I disagree, because some of his interviews was incredible, and some numbnut would call and ask a question. I was like, are you listening to the same interview I'm listening to? Because you're way off base on some of the questions. Yeah. So when I started, I made sure that wasn't going to happen with me. And then from there, I branched out into this program. The Monday and Tuesday is called Just Government, which was more for locals, again, to do a lot of interviews on the government officials, but a lot of them are more yellowbacks, don't have a backbone, scared to come on. So I started getting a lot of inquiries from the states on interviewing guests like yourself and people who have books and who have projects. So I start sending back requests like, yeah, I'm interested in interviewing this person. So that's how my Monday and Tuesday show now has evolved more. Although I still keep the name Just Government, I really don't ask too many government questions. At the end, I might ask like one just to cover the title of the show. But I really don't ask government questions anymore because I have so much fun interviewing a person. I'm like, I can't really relate a government question. I mean, once in a while, I can relate it. Like when you have nonprofits that can't really make it, so you kind of you could ask a question like, how can the government help you improve your projects? And then they go on, oh my God, the government should do this and so. But mostly when I have people who write books it's hard to ask a government question. And after I listen to you at the end, if I ask one government question, it'll be like how I feel, how comfortable I feel with if the question makes sense. Because then I'm defeating my own reason of when I was coming on air. Like that's a dumb question, so I try my best not to ask those. So so that's how I got into radio. Really wasn't. It was a. I'm no longer on the board of elections. I served 16 years, but what happened is it started from that process, wanting to get on air, and it was only 1 hour. And like I said, now I'm on 2 hours on Saturdays, one on Sunday, one on Monday, one on Tuesday, and then I co-host on a Friday for somebody else who has his own show, but I co-host because I do the boards. So I guess if he could, if I didn't do the boards, maybe I wouldn't co-host that show. But yeah, I'm quite busy in the radio industry, especially 90.9 FM.
Yeah, well, you diversified, and I think that even the listeners more than likely appreciate, the diversity of having different guests and entertaining them while they're listening, while working out, or relaxing. I mean, whatever it is that they're doing. That's the whole objective behind radio, because it's not visual, so you have to allow the shows to come alive with the guests who are diversified and well versed in doing interviews and entertaining the audience.
Yes, correct. So after you graduated from Rhode Island College, what was next on your career path? I know I know it was communications, and then you said you jumped straight into radio. And I'm just trying to connect from 16 when you knew you were going to be into hypnosis. Was hypnosis still part of your college kind of career, and then afterwards?
Absolutely, because the hypnotists would come in to the colleges and do full comedy hypnosis shows, so you'd see them. And there was a popular hypnotist at the time in that area he was pretty well known, and he was always around. So everyone knew the reputation was the show was fun, engaging, and so that was that with that. But from college, and I was already doing radio right before the end of college. I was already involved with radio, one of the top stations in the state of Rhode Island. So what happened with that was, again, bigger, better markets. So I went from the smallest state in the union to one of the most larger states in the union, which is California. Always wanted to, because I didn't really care about the weather. The New England weathers are very rough. They still are. As a matter of fact, the weather there, my understanding right now as we speak, on the East Coast is horrible. The rains are doing lots of damage, and the sun and the humidity, all of that. It's just not a very comfortable place to be in right now. So I decided I want to be in California. Well, again, what you pray on and what you ask, God for, He will give. He blesses. So He opened up the door where I had an opportunity to work for another station in the state of California. So that was the entry to go and work. And again, the stepping stone was radio to get into television at that time. Now it's much different, but it was a different, very, very different process back then. So moving west was not only fulfilling the dream of living in California, where the weather was always sunny and 72 degrees, and I had a job, and I thought, wow, this is fantastic. Now it wasn't the job I had, because I was working for the top station in the state of Rhode Island. So the pay, the environment, everything was going to be very, very different. But I took the risk and the plunge and decided to go west. So worked for that radio station for a while. Now, back in those days, radio had what we call, and I don't even know if you're familiar with these terms, but some of the listeners who will come back from those days might know this, but it was called a revolving door of radio. And the reason for that was, back in those days, unlike today, because I can get up online right now, I can start a YouTube channel, a podcast, I can become the broadcaster. Like, it's so easy today for people to just say, well, I'm a broadcaster, I'm in communications, because the vehicles and the platforms are so easy to get involved with, right? But back in the day, it wasn't like that. There was none of that. So radio was was a very good job to have. And if you wanted to go further with it, into television, that was a stepping stone. But they had a ratings book, and I think they probably still do, but I'm sure the market's changed so much. So the ratings books would come out for each show. So like your show right now, there would be a ratings book, and it's like the ratings for television. I forget what they call them. They have a name for it, but those things would be very, very important to the owners of radio stations, television programs, TV stations, et cetera, et cetera. So when those books came out and those ratings came out, Nielsen ratings is what they call them. So when those books came out, and if your numbers were down, you were out of a job. And it didn't matter if you had the morning slot, afternoon drive time, it didn't matter. Your numbers were down, it didn't matter who you were, you're gone. And they replaced you with someone who is producing, better numbers for the next cycle of that system. So that's what happened to me at that particular radio station in California. And it was a small radio station. It was nowhere near what I was coming from. And I was doing that time slot, and it was a very good time slot. But the ratings book came out, and the books were not good, according to the books. Didn't matter what the fans thought. Didn't matter. Nothing mattered. So basically, I was out of a job. So anytime I was out of a job or I was in between, I'd always go back to school because that's just my personality. I have a sensational appetite to learn everything I can possibly get my hands on or my ears on. And so even back then, I thought, well, I'm just going to go back to school. I'll get another job. It's just a matter of time, but I'll go back into school in the meantime. And that particular school, that college, was the only accredited college in the entire world, which is there in Tarzana, California. So that's how that transition happened, and I became who I am today.
Oh, amazing. And when you're saying that certified, as in certified for hypnosis?
That's correct. So that school offered to become certified in hypnotherapy. They didn't teach the comedy. There was nothing. It was all serious medical teachings of hypnosis. And I became certified through that particular college, and it was the only accredited college, so I actually got college credit for it as well. And so it was a win-win, no matter how you looked at it. Did I think I was going to do what I'm doing today? No. I still had my mindset on becoming a sports anchor for a television station, one of the top stations in California. If you get into that market, like the big markets are California, Texas, New York. Everybody wants to get into those markets. So that was my sights, and that's what I was set on doing. And so after the school...
And of course, the biggest one out of all...
After the program, I opened up my small private practice, and the word got out about my technique, how I'm able to help people and hypnotize people. That transitioned into the entertainment field of all celebrities started to get wind of who I was. And sure enough, the word got out really strong one day about my work on one of the late-night talk shows about I helped somebody to stop smoking, and then the rest was pretty much history after that. So, so much to talk about, but that's the Reader's Digest version of kind of the timeline.
Okay. When you mentioned about going to the college, and what's the name of the college in California again?
The name of the college in California is called the Hypnosis Motivation Institute.
And like you did explain why you went there, because you were in between your jobs. And I want to just go back a little bit from 16 when it caught you, when you said, hey, I think I like this. So when was the first time and back at 16, you kind of mentioned it was more of a fun type of situation than how it is that you're doing it now, which is more of a serious situation. How did it grab your attention at 16?
How did the hypnosis grab my attention?
Correct.
Yeah. So I'll tell you how it grabbed my attention. It grabbed my attention very quick. Well, actually, it grabbed my attention in two ways. Now, are you familiar with a show back in the 70s called The Brady Bunch?
Yes.
Okay. So that was my first encounter of Like, wow. So my first day of class, and I'll share this with you real quick, and we'll get into the real of what hypnosis.
No worries. It's your time. Anything you want to talk about is fine with me.
What's that?
I'm sorry. I was saying it's your time. Whatever you want to talk about, it's fine with me.
Yeah, here you go. What's the question again?
No, I was just telling you whatever you want to talk about is fine with me because it's your time.
Okay. So my first day of class, I go to class, and just like anybody else, I sit down, and so there's a little anxiety, stress, it's just like you're overwhelmed a little bit. It's first day of class. So I sit in class, and I'm just waiting for the instructor to come and preparing my notes and my book and whatever. So I'm sitting there, and then this person sits right down next to me and says, "Is this seat available?" I wasn't really paying attention. And I go, "Yeah, it's available. Yeah, go ahead, have a seat." So they sit down, and I still didn't realize what was happening because I wasn't really paying much attention to who was sitting around me. I was just getting ready to okay, let's get this class going. I want to get this out of the way. So sitting down right next to me was was Florence Henderson of the Brady Bunch.
Wow.
Yeah, she became a certified hypnotherapist in the same class as me, and she ended up marrying the instructor and the owner of the school at the time, which was Dr. John Kappas. And so she decided that she wanted to become a hypnotherapist. So the only way to do that is, you have to go through the class like everybody else. So that was kind of an interesting encounter, which wasn't like, again, when you live in California like I do, you see celebrities and your favorite actor, actress all the time. You walk down the street, there they are. They're shopping at the grocery stores. They're like us.
They're at Pink's.
Yeah, there you go. And so, it's not an uncommon thing, but when you sit and you look at, somebody who from your childhood era, that kind of throws you a little bit. It was a very awesome encounter at that time. And of course, she went through the program just like me. She became a hypnotherapist, but of course her focus was acting and still, doing and singing, and that's what her thing was. But she was a certified hypnotherapist, went through the same class. So let's get to the meat of the question of why and how it all worked for me, because this is how it worked for me. So even through the program, I wasn't really taking it seriously because I was just there. Again, I was in transition. I had an interest in hypnosis since I was 16 or even earlier than that. But it didn't really come to fruition until about 16. So I always had an interest in it, but didn't take it seriously. Plus, the way I was brought up, not only spiritually, but just culturally, everything of how it was this is not the stuff you go study. This is not, it's taboo. It's the work of, of the cults, and it's just not accepted. Because back when I started doing all this, it's a little more mainstream now. But back in the day, you couldn't even mention the word hypnotist or hypnosis because people would just freak out. So back in those days, to announce to my family that I was now going back to college, but I was going to study to become a hypnotist was just absolutely absurd. And so there was a lot of pushback about all of that at the time, and it didn't matter. It was an accredited school, didn't matter. Nothing mattered. It was something that you shouldn't do. Anyway, so I kind of went in with that skepticism, that cynicism, that whole thing that everybody has. And so what turned it around for me was one day we went on a field trip, and it was at the most prestigious hospital in the world, which is Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Beverly Hills, California. It's a well-renowned hospital. Everyone is aware of it. And so we go in on a field trip to watch what is now called, and it wasn't called this back in the day, what is called hypnobirthing. And we were to watch behind a two-way mirror a world-famous opera singer from Italy. She was going to have a C-section under hypnosis. There was no drugs, no epidural, nothing to alleviate the pain, but hypnosis. So we're like, okay, whatever. So I'm the guy at this point now where me and the other guys, we're like the class clowns of the class. We're in the back giggling, goofing. They weren't there for the seriousness of it either. They were just there. Everyone has their different reasons for going through a scholastic program. I don't know what their reasons were, but it wasn't serious. It's because their parents are paying for it.
Yeah, I was about to say it might have been an elective or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what people's motives are, but for me it was, okay, I'm going to go learn something. I'm going to get college credit for it. Awesome. I'm going to do it. So we're standing there behind this two-way mirror. Now, everybody knew what was going on, and we were also told that she was already prepped with 6 sessions on going into hypnosis quickly, rapidly, and already preparing her for this particular moment that was about to happen. So she comes in, they put her up on the table, we're watching through the two-way mirror. She knows we're behind the mirror, but she can't see us. We can see her. The doctor comes in, and he was, again, astute in hypnosis, comes in, puts her in hypnosis like you see on TV and in movies. And she goes into hypnosis, and now we're waiting for the C-section, for the baby to come, because, can't predict when that's going to happen, so we're waiting. So finally, the baby comes. Now, she was hypnotized to, if she had any discomfort or pain whatsoever, she was to let out an opera note, right? That would signal the doctors or the nurses to come over and give her the epidural and just give her what she needed to alleviate the pain while they're delivering the baby through C-section. Okay, all mothers out there listening are cringing right now, going, "Oh my goodness!" Right? So that's what we're doing, and now I'm behind the mirror, going, "Your jaw is literally dropping to the floor." Okay, you're standing there in awe, going, "This is not happening," but it's happening right in front of you, and that's the difference. If you go watch videos online, or if you watch my shows online, it's different when you see it in person. Totally different. So now we're watching this, and this is the first month or two learning this hypnosis. It's just not. You're like, wow, what is going on here? So that's what the turning point was for me. That's just amazing watching it. I'm not watching a comedy hypnosis show like I was used to seeing and all of that stuff. I'm now watching serious medical clinical hypnosis being performed. And that was just amazing to me. So I started to think a little bit more seriously from that experience. And so we go back to class, and every Saturday we would have practice sessions on each other to do hypnosis on each other.
It sounds like chess. Like when people are learning chess, that they play with each other. Now you're talking about doing hypnosis.
Yeah.
But I have to take a 63-second break. But before I go on break, you mentioned about online to see your program or different projects online. Can you give the listening audience your online and any social media that they can get you and get your books or any?
Absolutely. It's so simple and so memorable. It's www.hypnotist, HYP as in Paul, NOTIST.com. Now, I spell it for a reason, because even when I type it into my computer, and I own that number one website in the globe, right? That's like McDonald's.com, right? That's the website. So even when I type it in, I mistype a letter, and something else comes up. That's why I spell it out. But it's hypnotist.com.
Okay, great. And then they could get even any of your books or anything like that. They could purchase.
Everything is right there. Books, all of my MP3 programs on smoking, weight, stress, anxiety. The list goes on.
Great. Let me take 63 seconds, and we'll be right back.
One network in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Get the iPhone 14 on us and vacation with Home Abroad Plus. You can talk, text, and stream unlimited with nationwide and Caribbean coverage. Dominican Republic included. Bring the whole family with up to 5 lines. No sweat. Love your number? Keep it. Because if it's not Via, you might have to leave it. It's a sizzling summer with Via. Make the switch. Visit via.vi/mobile for more.
Lawrence Boschulte and the D.H.J. Jackson Hamilton Nonprofit Organization are the proud sponsors of the Catholic Voice, aired every Sunday from 6 to 7 p.m. If you or someone you know would like to be sponsors of the Catholic Voice, please contact Atanya at 407-719-2635. That's 407-719-2635.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte. My guest today is Kevin Stone. Kevin, if you could give your website again and your full name and also the title of what you are.
Yeah, I'm known as the Hollywood Hypnotist Kevin Stone. I'm a Board Certified Hypnotherapist. And the website is www.hypnotist, H-Y-P as in Paul, N-O-T-I-S-T.com.
Great to hear. So before we went on break, we're finding out how you jumped into taking this as a serious situation, although you were in the back of the room clowning around like the the Payton brothers when they were walking, getting a view of ESPN at one time. I don't know if you ever saw that commercial with the Payton brothers when they were.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Some other people might not understand, but I know you were into sports, and if you wanted to be one of the best anchors, the main place to go is ESPN, and they were always a commercial was always on there. But let's grab, because I'm running out of time. I'm hoping that you could extend a little bit past 7:45 because I can go to 7:58. But you did
absolutely.
Okay, great. You did say some stuff that I wanted to touch on. And I agreed with you in a sense of how people looked at hypnosis more in a negative aspect, but in the past. But presently now, people are like using it. And you mentioned help, that you help somebody stop smoking, and that the late night radio host heard about it, and then celebrities heard about it. But celebrities also sometimes run into more than smoking problems. They got a lot of drug problems. They got a lot of little issues.
That's right.
Explain to the public how you help people so that they can jump on this website as well and try and contact you or find a way of trying to help themselves.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. And so, this is the medical side of hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And that's why I became who I became. My passion is to really help people to help themselves. I mean, I do the comedy stuff, I do the stage stuff, I do all of that to show people the applications of it, but the seriousness of it, you can change just about anything you want to do in your life. So my techniques, the way I do hypnosis became well known, and now it's global. It's around the world. And that's why good people like yourself are contacting my office to say, hey, we want to know more about it. We want to introduce it to our market of where we are. And, because we're interested in that, because we all need help, including myself. And so the work that I've done is now, I started with what most people know hypnotists for, which is smoking, weight loss, stress, anxiety. But it goes far beyond that. So basically the rule of thumb is whatever it is that you want to change in your life, whatever is holding you back, whatever is not allowing you to achieve your maximum potential in life, hypnosis, a natural organic resource, right? Because again, I don't have mysterious powers. I can't sprinkle dust on you and you get cured. It doesn't work that way. It's a natural organic process that if you understand the process through a qualified hypnotist, then you can make the changes in your life. Because what you're doing, Lawrence, is you're basically reprogramming your brain. It's just like your computer. Everyone works on that computer or your phone. And when the phone gets full of garbage or stuff that, like, I want to put more pictures on there, but I can't because I got to take some off. It's the same process of what happens in our brain.
Yeah, iCloud normally says your storage is full.
Yeah, so you got to empty it out. And generally, when the storage is full, it's not information you need or that's working for you. So the hypnotists, what they do is they basically reprogram your brain to do exactly what it is you want to do and remove the blocks.
As a hypnotist, I've seen it, like you said, on TV, and how sometimes you guys can bring up memories that are blocked because of it was a bad experience, whether it was a rape or a murder.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah, because our subconscious mind is basically 88% of your brain's capacity. Okay, you know that little voice that's inside your head right now, and all the listeners are talking to themselves like, "Oh, I'm not so sure," and all of that. That's your conscious mind. The subconscious mind is 88% of your brain's capacity. That is where it's like a giant filing cabinet. That is where all information, good or bad, positive or negative, is stored in your subconscious mind. So the hypnotist goes in and basically, again, like the metaphor of the computer system, goes in, takes out the negative, replaces with the positive.
Understood. I have a text from one of the listeners that stated, of course, I lost it. Here it is. Can hypnosis to remember a traumatic event put you into having a seizure?
It depends if you are prone to seizures, right? If you're a person who is always having seizures and you're on medication for that, there is a possibility. It's kind of like if you look at people who look at strobe lights or something moving very, very quickly, they get vertigo and they can possibly go into a seizure. So yes, because of what they're doing is they're recalling that traumatic experience. So again, you have to have the right therapist to guide the person through it, but to great success. So again, you have to go through that process, but it's rare. It's a rare occurrence, but yes, it could happen.
As an individual who is certified, are you approached by the various movie theaters, especially since you're in California, on concert?
So Lawrence, I somehow I lost you again.
I'm sorry, I didn't have the volume high enough. I was wondering, since you're certified in hypnosis, can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you. Muffled.
Okay,
There you go.
great. So I was wondering, since you're certified in hypnosis, does the various Paramount, the different movie companies consult with you on various projects that they might have going on?
Absolutely, yeah. And all the current movies and TV shows and everything that you see, they generally contact my office for inspiration, advice. So how do we do this? How do we shoot this? How do we do that? Yes, absolutely. I'm the guy that they come to.
You also mentioned that when you had that interview on that radio show in California, how was it for you? I guess after that, then everything exploded. Not exploded. Let me use a correct term.
No, it did.
Okay.
No, and it wasn't radio; it was television. And so, all this information's online. I'm not really privy to talk about it, but it's one of the top 3 late night TV shows in the United States. And it was a guy who's not really doing that show anymore. Somebody else took over. So, but back in the day, so that's how it happened. So this celebrity goes on there, basically talks about me, and everyone's like, wow, ooh, ah, yeah, right? Wow, you stopped smoking, wow. And so I got contacted by another very popular kind of like a news media, like Entertainment Tonight type of a program. And they basically dubbed me the Hollywood Hypnotist, and that's how that name came about. And so from that point, now it's public. So everyone's like, oh, this is the guy to go to if we have things we want to change in our lives, because he can do it. He's the GOAT, right? So that's how it happened, and the rest was pretty much history. And that was not even maybe 2 years out of college when all of that started to manifest itself. Yeah. So that's how that all transitioned.
I was trying to think of the movie that I was watching on television. You know, the guy that had his own, him and his friend, it was a white guy, and then his close friend was a black guy, and he was a hypnotist, and the black guy always was telling him, it was more the opposite, and like, what are you talking? Gosh, I forgot the movie, and I watched it not a movie, it's a series, and I used to watch it quite often. But it reminds me of something like what you're saying about doing. But he wasn't really a hypnotist. It was like how can I say it? He was making fun, but not really like laughter fun at hypnotism.
Right.
Like he was using it to get his jobs. He was like, yeah, I can do it because I know I can think about. And then he would like read something, and he had a good memory. But gosh, I wish I remembered the little series.
You got me curious now. You have to post it up on your website. So
Yeah,
you can all see
yeah. I gotta go back and research in my head and find it. But yeah, it wasn't totally like it was believable, but it would make you laugh. It wasn't like a negative towards hypnosis, but it would, to me, something like that. That he was like a private detective actually, and used the hypnosis on it, kind of hypnosis of how he would get the information and crack some of the cases that he had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't a negative. It was just like, wow, for real, somebody's that smart that they could hypnotize people and stuff like that. But I'll jump back on some of the things that you do too, and I know a lot of this information is on the website, but just to get the creative of people listening, to get them more creative to jump on that website. As an individual who has done this now, and like you said, you travel around the world. Did you travel to different places of the world because people know how good you are and they ask you to come?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the word gets out, and now they want me to lecture. They want me to do comedy hypnosis shows, and so that just took off. And this is what I still currently do. I'm still doing all of that. And now that the pandemic has lifted, things have gotten much easier to do. But of course, everybody was on hold while this whole, world pandemic was happening for all of us. And so things are starting back up again, and the travel is coming. And yeah, I'm all over the place teaching, educating, uplifting, inspiring people how they can utilize a natural organic resource called hypnosis in their lives to improve their lives, to get rid of the negatives and only allow the positives. So it's removing the blocks to achieve their maximum potential. We all want that.
Are you also sometimes kind of associated with psychologists because of what you do or no?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because I'm Board Certified Therapist, right, Hypnotherapist. So with that title comes it's therapy. So we're doing therapy, like the great question that you received earlier. That's therapy all in itself. So we got to get to the root of it. We have to understand why it's there, why it's sitting in subconscious, and then once we get all of that figured out, we're able to go in, do the hypnosis, and remove it. It's almost like a surgeon where you come in, you got to get the X-rays, you got to go in for the consultation, you got to go in for the whole process, and then they finally figure it out. Now they go, okay, now we can get you in the surgery, and now we can take it out.
Understood. As an individual who's been certified and been approached from various people, do you take anybody under your wing, or have you have any individuals that you dealt with to try and groom into the same kind of concepts that you have?
Absolutely, all the time. Yeah, I get people all of the time, especially because, again, I'm not that far from the school that I graduated from the alumni. So the alumni, once they start to understand, like, wow, Kevin Stone came to this school, and then they get pretty excited because they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to carve out their career path, so they contact me all the time, and I get calls from all over the world, doing the same thing, where people are training in hypnosis and they want to become, the top of their game, and I don't blame them. So yes, I do take people under my wing. I groom, I teach, I show, and that's a bit of leaving my legacy, because I want to be able to help others to continue the work and to do it bigger, better than me, possibly. So, yeah, absolutely.
Great. I have to take one more break, and then we'll come back and wrap up. It's going to be a little longer. It'll be about a minute and 20 seconds this time. If you could, before we go on break, if you could give your website one more time.
Hypnotist.com, www.hypnotist.com, HYT as in Paul, NOTIST.com.
We'll be back in about a minute and 20 seconds.
If you're hearing this, make your way to Emancipation Garden Thursday, July 20th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a free Mukajumbi experience. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the Virgin Islands presents Stilts Up, Guns Down, an all-age-free event. Come out and enjoy performances by Mukajumbi Summer Camp and the St. John Dynamic Dancers Thursday, July 20th, free at Emancipation Garden, where you can support young entrepreneur vendor booths and listen to inspirational music selected by DJ Jackson. For more information, contact Bruce Lamone at 340 340-513-4041.
The Police Benevolent Association, VISNA, the St. Thomas Stroke Support Group, and Love City Riders, in conjunction with Wizard Production and Consulting Firm, Caribbean Cutie, the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, SRMC, and the Democratic Vision Club, are hosting a community Rise Up Against Gun Violence Walk in honor of Detective Delbert Phipps Jr. on Saturday, July 22nd, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., beginning with a walk from Lucinda Millen Home to the Emancipation Garden, featuring intercessory prayers by local pastors, candlelight vigils, live singing performances, and complimentary drinks and hors d'oeuvres for everyone in attendance. The general public is invited. For additional information, please call Mrs. Esther Merla Phillips at 340-513-1537 or Mr. Edgar Baker Phillips at 340-473-6910. That's Saturday, July 22nd, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's a community Rise Up Against Gun Violence walk in honor of Detective Delbert Phipps Jr.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to 90.9 FM. My name is Lawrence Boschulte. My guest this evening is Kevin Stone. Kevin, if you could give your name and your full title.
I'm known as the Hollywood Hypnotist Kevin Stone. I'm a Board Certified Hypnotherapist, and the website is www.hypnotist.com.
Thank you so much. I know I have less than 7 minutes, but before we wrap up, as you heard about the two commercial talked about gun violence, do you guys have that same type of situation in California?
Absolutely. California is the most strict on anything to do with guns. So absolutely, positively, here in this state, unlike Texas or other states, the policies, the rules, the regulations, I mean, it's strict, very strict.
Yeah, I figured that, but I was just double checking, and I wanted to find out from you, do people or the government try to approach you to do a program on some of the young or even ones that are incarcerated to try and help them get better?
They haven't, but that would be an awesome opportunity and program to do that. Here in the States, it's a little more complex to bring in. Even the spiritual organizations have a difficult time getting in. But once they're in. But it's a very elongated process. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of politics behind it because they just don't want to better the incarcerated, and that's very unfortunate and very sad. Now, California is a little bit more liberal in that structure, so a lot of the spiritual groups are able to get in, preach the word, which is awesome to me, because, again, everything is given by God as far as I'm concerned, including my path of what I'm doing. God is using me to glorify Him through the gifts that I have. So that's where I stand on that, too.
Yeah, thank goodness on that. My only question, and I agree with you in the sense of that we have kind of the same problem here. Is it's hard, and especially since COVID, they didn't allow anybody into the various prisons and jails.
Right.
But I still feel that some intervention needs to be made, whether it's yourself, whether it's a psychologist, whether it's the churches. Something has to be done because all they do is like a revolving door. They come back out. Nobody's there. Nobody's there to assist. They go back in.
Yeah.
And even if we start on a younger groups in high school, how can we touch them? And then, like you said, there's so many laws that you have to watch out for, and you can't talk to this student if you're not with a parent or another adult. It's you scratching your head. No wonder we're going down instead of going up.
Yeah, absolutely. But here in California, again, they have those programs in place. But again, there's so many strict things that come about it. But you're right, because I think the incarcerated rate is within a year to 5 years they're back in prison again.
Correct.
So I think globally it's 5. I think if you get past the 5-year mark, you're pretty much not going to go back. But if you up to 5 years, it's pretty much that's the numbers. It's pretty sad of the reincarcerating rate.
I I know you stated your website. I know you stated your name and also the hypnotist. And because I only have like 2 or 3 minutes left, I wanted to get the last question on in the sense of getting it out to the public. Is how can you or others in your field improve somebody's life?
So let me understand the question. So how can we improve somebody's life?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just a matter of, again, look, any step to any recovery program, and I don't care what it is, whether it be hypnotherapy, traditional therapy, 12-step program, a reincarcerated program. There's so many different programs that one can get involved with. Here's the thing. Do they all work? Absolutely, positively. But here's where the problem is you have to acknowledge. First step to any recovery program is to acknowledge that you do have the issue. And then once you acknowledge that and you're really honest with yourself when you look in the mirror, then you're able to seek out the right people to help you to overcome and get the right tools in your life to achieve your maximum potential. And that includes everything, not just the work that I do. That's everybody. So, like I said, 12-step program, doesn't matter what the program is. You have to be ready and wanting to do it. You can't do it for somebody else. You have to do it for yourself. And you have to really take the time to be honest with yourself to say, I'm ready, and I'm going to commit.
Wow, great answer. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for amount of time, but I want to thank you so much for providing this type of information for my listeners. If you can give your full name and title and your website one last time before we leave, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Well, I'm not only going to do that, Lawrence. You asked how somebody like me helps the world, right? Because this is our passion. This is what we do. So what I'm going to do, because, again, you're an awesome interviewer. You've got a great program. I want to start tuning into it online and just listen to you because I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of great guests because you're a very good-hearted person, and you seem to really want to help people as well through the medium of what you do. And so it's a very powerful resource. So what I'm going to do is anyone who's listened to this program for the next 7 days, because you're going to put it up online. People are going to have an opportunity to listen to it on a podcast, all of that wonderful stuff. But the people who listen to this for the next 7 days, if they email me through the website, hypnotist.com, I'm going to send them a $150 value MP3 programming system on how to do self-hypnosis so they can improve their lives.
Wow, thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you so much for being such a positive person and providing that to my listening audience. I look forward to talking to you in the near future.
Thanks for having me, Lawrence. Hope to talk to all of you again soon.
Yeah, same here, Mr. Stone.
Yep.
Bye. That brings us to the end of Just Government for this Monday. I should be on tomorrow from 7